Point of WBVP and WMBA, its staff, management, and advertisers. Thank you for listening to WBVP and WMBA.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Pride Month themed episode of Thinking Logically. I'm not coming out, but let me tell you what is coming out. The fact that the Biden family is total trash. Worse than perhaps even the Trump family. Although we have not found any bookkeeping errors quite yet. All right, we have a lot to cover on this historic day, June 6th, the 80th anniversary of the D-Day landings. But first, let's introduce the crew. Our producer here in studio with a full plate today, Ryan. Ryan, how are you?
I'm doing good. How you doing today, man?
I'm great. And as always, joining us via phone is our dear friend and co-host, Mr. Gordy. Mark, how are things?
Joseph, Ryan, glad to be back with you guys. Happy Thursday. I am so excited for this episode, Joe. You did a tremendous job putting this one together, and we got so much to talk about. By the way, as you mentioned, D-Day, 80 years ago today, probably one of the bravest acts in maybe American history.
The views and opinions expressed on
human history, whatever you want to call it. I mean, we cannot forget what happened on D-Day. So we'll talk about that later on. But yeah, let's get into this one, Joe.
Okay, so on June 4th, the infamous Hunter Biden laptop was admitted into evidence in a federal court. Then, an FBI agent confirmed its authenticity. So the son of a former president, the son of the current president of the United States of America has pictures of himself with naked underage girls smoking crack on that laptop. But we'll get to that later. First, I want to focus on the fact that in 2020, the Biden campaign were the ones actively trying to suppress this information, and by any means necessary. Audience, are you putting the two and two together? In the fall of 2020, we were told the Hunter Biden laptop was, quote, Russian disinformation. The question I'm asking is, did that lie and then the cover-up of it by the Biden campaign influence the 2020 election, like Trump's hush money supposedly influenced the 2016 election? Remember, 51 former top intelligence officials signed a letter denying the laptop was real. Then, journalists in the mainstream media used that as a source to discredit and mock anyone saying that the laptop was real. The letter from the intel officials and the laptop suppression came directly from the Biden campaign. It was Anthony Blinken leading the charge. So when does he get indicted? And at the debate, Biden called the laptop story, quote, a Russian plant. You know what? Joe Biden has the IQ of a plant. And so do you if you actually believe that. Here we are today. The laptop's real, and it's now been entered as evidence as part of one of Hunter Biden's criminal trials. And still, not one media outlet that spread the Russian disinformation lie has retracted it or apologized. What's worse is, for years, there have been people screaming that the laptop is real and there are numerous crimes on it. But instead of investigating this, the DOJ was more worried about school board meetings, radical Latin masses, and January 6ers getting away. You know why? Because they are complicit. Merrick Garland is completely compromised. The head of the DOJ, compromised. It's not all because there's much worse there, but it's there. It's right there. We now have actual proof that Joe Biden lied to alter the outcome of a presidential election. So again, when do the trials start? I don't make the rules. Blinken and Biden need to be indicted over this cover-up. Again, I don't make the rules. I just call it the hypocrisy of the people not abiding by them. Remember, precedents have been set. It doesn't matter if it was a bookkeeping error for some hush money or whatever. What happens to people that illegally try to influence an election? They go to jail. Even if they were the president or former president or whatever of the United States, they go to jail. We're no stranger to the law. As Rick Astley once said, you know the rules, and so do I. Mark, the question remains, is this a bookkeeping error, though? Does she know?
Joe, I mean, you mentioned the orchestrator's name behind this whole ordeal was Anthony Blinken, our Secretary of State. He was the one that coordinated to get together the 51 Russian intel officers. And basically, as we all know now, they wrote a letter and signed it, put their name on it, to say this was Russian disinformation. Who set that up? How did we get 51 intel officials together? Anthony Blinken. He was richly rewarded, Joe, wasn't he? With a nice position in the Secretary of State. We know this. This was in the book Breaking Biden. So we know this. This is a fact. He is the ultimate swamp creature, Anthony Blinken is. But you know what, Joe? I was thinking about this and, looking at the show today, and you brought this up, I think, a while ago in our private conversations. If Trump gets elected this November, the last 4 years will be all worth it. They'll be worth it, Joe. And why? You brought this up to me privately. The deep state will have exposed themselves. People's eyes have been opened. People are awake now. If we had a second Trump term from 2020 to 2024, we wouldn't have had this awakening within the populace of America. But if Trump gets elected in November, this will all be worth it, because now people see the deep state for what they are. People see the corruption. People see the weaponization of the Justice Department. And Joe, we're going to get into this later, I know, but Hunter Biden, I hope he gets off. I hope he gets off scot-free. Yeah, we have some things here. Kanakoa the Great on X, brought up this, posted a 20-minute clip of Joe Biden, U.S. intelligence officials, and the American media claiming that Hunter Biden's laptop was Russian disinformation, Joe. They issued a poll after this and said if this hadn't been dispelled as Russian disinformation, quote unquote, would this have changed your mind? And the majority of people said, yeah, they would have voted differently had they known that this was actually authentic and real. Classic election interference, Joe. I yield my time.
Remember, nobody is above the law. We heard about 100 times. Nobody is above the law. It appears that someone might be above the law. And by someone, I mean Anthony Blinken, Joe Biden, Jim Biden, Hunter Biden. You are right. I do Hunter Biden gets off because I want to just rub everyone's noses in it. This is how crooked it is. This is how crooked the judicial system is, the executive branch, the legislative branch. It's all this bad. More worried about sending money to Ukraine than fixing the country. And these criminals are just skating. The evidence is right here. I mean, you don't got to be Matlock to figure this one out, to argue this case. It's right there. It's all right here. Here's another one from Jack Posobiec on X. Breaking. In 2020, Twitter disclosed to the FEC they were warned of a, quote, a hack and leak operation involving Hunter Biden by federal law enforcement that led them to censor the laptop story. The disclosure was signed by Yoel Roth. The FBI just admitted that the laptop was real. And Yoel Roth was that guy that got fired when Elon Musk bought Twitter, now X, for suppressing story. Remember, people's accounts were suspended for this. The New York Post had their account suspended for this. And talk about influencing an election.
The laptop from hell, Joe. 51 traitors, Joe, and Kash Patel has recommended to President Trump, if he gets reelected, to strip these 51 intel officers of their security clearances at 12:01 on January 20th, 2025, or whatever the date is, when he's inaugurated, hopefully. John Brennan, James Clapper, you know these guys, Joe.
If you watch CNN and MSNBC, that's the funny thing. They're the talking heads on CNN and MSNBC. So you're getting the information from people that lied about the Hunter Biden laptop. It had all the earmarks of Russian disinformation. Well, guess what? That thing is now entered into evidence in a federal criminal trial involving the president's son. And we're going to get to that right now, Mark. Are you ready?
Joe, I want military tribunals for these people. I want retribution. And I hope Donald Trump takes it if he gets back into the White House. You have to fight fire with fire, and he needs to go after these guys.
Just wait till the media hears you say that. Remember, Maxine Waters just talking about how people were in the mountains training a couple weeks ago. All right, Hunter Biden trial. So let's start things off with on day one after the jury was picked. So obviously, let's go to the jury. Supposedly, 6 people are directly impacted by drug addiction on this jury, and one of the people is a former Secret Service employee who Ashley Biden smiled at, and that's coming from Johnny Maga and I believe Jesse Waters from Fox News.
I love Johnny Maga, by the way.
He is a nice account to follow. Also, on day one of the trial, a juror just flat out didn't show up because it was, quote, too far of a commute. Had the trial been about Trump or involving Trump, I'm sure that juror, they would have said, hey, is this juror been threatened? Let's ask about that. But no, he just was too far of a commute. Also, on day one of the trial, Hunter Biden's ex-wife. This is from Marco Polo. Actually, no, we'll do the from Wendell. So Hunter Biden's wife, Melissa Cohen Biden, verbally assaulted Marco Polo founder Garrett Ziegler at Hunter's trial. Melissa got close to him, pointed her finger at him, shouted, "You have no right to be here, you Nazi piece of," we'll say crap, and then walked away. Ziegler did not respond. Also, a highlight from, I believe this is maybe the next day. Yes, witness 2, whose social media handle is Weed SL*T 420, met Hunter Biden while she was performing a private session at a strip club. Hunter waved, and then she was asked to ID him in the courtroom. He waved at her. A picture of Hunter wearing a shirt with the Adidas logo turned into a marijuana leaf that says "addicted" below was blown up on the projector screen. I thought that was funny because Hunter didn't smoke weed, she said. She testified that Hunter tried an experimental indigenous drug treatment in which the venom of a frog is administered to the skin to purge him. Oh, we're just going to read all these. We're going to read all these.
What's the toad venom called again?
The QAnon shaman mentioned something about that, too.
Yes.
So she was married from Hunter from 1993 until 2017. The gun incident occurred in 2018. Hunter's ex-wife is not there under any immunity agreement, according to NBC News. Well, let's get to the girlfriend, Mark. This was yesterday, so we haven't even gotten to today yet. Just in, Hunter Biden's former girlfriend, Zoe Keston, just testified that Hunter Biden would send his bank account information to dealers so they could directly take money from his bank account. She also said that Hunter would have her deliver them to him directly while he stayed at the Four Seasons in New York. Why isn't Alvin Bragg investigating this crime in his city? And that's at Travis for Trump on X. We could, another one from the girlfriend. Just in, Hunter Biden's ex, Zoe Keston, just testified that Hunter was very likable in public, but in private, he was always smoking crack. He would wake up and go right to it. She said he would drink while smoking it, and while this was happening is when he made the firearm purchase. He was apparently looking at frog venom to purge his system as well.
Amazing.
We're not okay. Let's get to Thursday because we still have a lot to cover here. We only got about four or 5 minutes. Bose Biden widow took the stand. What did she say?
Zoe Keston looks young, by the way.
I'm sure she is. Oh, young for the life she led? Is that what you mean?
Both.
I can't find the quote, but supposedly Hunter Biden was smoking crack rocks the size of, quote, ping pong balls, I believe. I can't find the quote in the article. Also, yeah. Haley Biden said Hunter enjoyed, smoking crack rocks the size of ping pong balls. Haley, who also smoked crack with Hunter, threw Hunter's gun in a dumpster in 2018. Haley is Hunter's ex and his brother-in-law's widow. Joe Biden visited her last week. Some say the visit was witness tampering, and that's from Wendell.
No, it was his brother's widow, Joe, not brother-in-law.
Oh, yes, brother's widow.
He misspoke.
Yeah. Well, thank you for...
Don't forget, after Hunter Biden discarded her, he went to her sister.
Yeah, I forgot about that. This guy's amazing. And lastly, from today, because I quit following this about 2 hours ago, Haley Biden said she threw out Hunter Biden's gun in the dumpster due to fear her kids might find it. What about the kids at the school that was right down the road? Before we get into the Biden and Time magazine thing, do you want to? We're gonna put this laptop thing every day. We're gonna lead off with this probably, as long as it's stories like this.
You know what, Joe? Like I said, I hope he gets off.
Me too.
I want people to see 2 tiers of justice. I want people to see that the Justice Department is set up and they are obviously treating him differently if he gets off. He's found guilty, then he's found guilty. Whatever. But I just sent you this a little bit ago, half hour ago. I said, bookmark this, please. This is from Leading Report on X. Breaking. Joe Biden says he will not pardon his son Hunter if convicted of gun charges. What are the odds that would actually happen? I mean, seriously.
Well, he didn't buy crack and label it something else, so there's no bookkeeping errors when he bought the crack. So I don't see how he gets convicted, found guilty.
Right. But, yeah, this is interesting. You know what? Joe, obviously opening arguments have started, so this trial is underway, right?
Yes.
I think jury selection was, Monday? So
Yeah,
we're in the midst of this trial. So we'll see how long this lasts. I think the Trump trial lasted about 6 weeks or so. So we'll see how long this one lasts. And, we're going to be following this one closely. So we'll have more for you on Monday.
All right, let's move on to Biden's interview with Time magazine. We got about 3 minutes here before we got to take a break. It was a total disaster. Let me just read the main highlight that I couldn't stop. It put me into a laughing fit. Time reporter asked him, "Can you really do this job as an 85-year-old man?" And Biden said, "I can do it better than anyone you know. You're looking at me. I could take you too." Did he just challenge him to a fist fight?
I think he did. I mean, that's what it sounds like.
He also, Mark, mixed up Xi Jinping and Vladimir Putin in his discussions with Time, and it's bad. I mean, there's.
Was this the article that he said he's known Putin for over 40 years?
And that was Xi Jinping and something else with tariffs, and they thought he was talking about Russia, and he was talking about China, and he confused China and Russia. They had a little note they even put down.
Well, if he's known Putin for over 40 years, Joe, 40 years ago, Putin was an undercover spy for the KGB.
That's right. This guy just makes up whatever he says. No fact checker. Fact checkers must have got laid off. I don't know. Must have went out of business. There's no more fact checking anymore. This is a good tweet from McGillis on X. The media explains Biden's stellar mental abilities with all the fervor of Sasquatch hunters. I've seen it. It's real, but it's impossible to capture in film. That is such a good tweet because it's true. They always brag about how good he is behind closed doors, and he's clearly not. All right. Let's go over real quick before we move on to the House Judiciary.
Speaking of behind closed doors, I read this article in the Wall Street Journal, Joe. I think it came out a couple days ago. It says the title of the article is called "Behind Closed Doors: Biden Shows Signs of Slipping." And this article wasn't very flattering of President Biden. Let's put it that way. And they actually had no Democrats on the record of talking about his declining mental acuity. And Morning Joe actually called them out for that because, well, they couldn't get any Democrats on the record for that. And they actually had one congressman. He actually called back the journalist that wrote this article, saying that he was pressured to call back and retract his statements from what he said earlier about Biden's mental health. So yeah, this is a disaster, Joe. It seems like they go back and forth between, yeah, he's sharp, he's vigorous, and it's like, yeah, we don't want him anymore. So I don't know where we stand with that.
All right, we're gonna move to break, but first I got to mention this happened yesterday afternoon. House Oversight Committee, we are referring Hunter and James Biden for criminal prosecution because I guess they lied under oath in their family's influence peddling schemes. So we're going to stick with that probably next episode. Also, Hunter Biden could be taken into federal custody for violating conditions of his release on felony charges in Delaware and California by committing another crime under 18 U.S. 1001 when he allegedly committed perjury in a Capitol Hill deposition on February 28th. That's the same thing the House Oversight Committee is talking about. Look, if this goes on, they're going to use the 25th Amendment to get rid of Biden. It's the only way. Mark, we've talked about this. He can't be impeached. The crimes come out. Anything before the break?
No, let's get to our break, and we'll come back with our next segment.
Okay, when we return, the president gave a speech in Normandy, France on the 80th anniversary of D-Day. Joe Biden, if you could believe it or not, was actually alive when the D-Day invasion was going on. But it did not appear as if he were alive while today's ceremony was going on. We'll have all the highlights when we return to Thinking Logically on 99.3 WBVP. You know, when Joe Biden shuffles in front of the cameras to answer scripted questions during the day, he lies like Don King. But what you don't know is, when he goes to sleep at night, he lies like an Egyptian king because he uses MyPillow Giza Dream Sheets. Grown only in a region between the Sahara Desert, the Mediterranean Sea, and the Nile River, Its log staple cotton makes it ultra soft and breathable. Use the promo code LOGIC to maximize your savings on this amazing product.
Hey guys, it's Joe from Thinking Logically here to tell you about a company I've been using since I got my learner's permit. Grossi & Associates. Using their state-of-the-art equipment, Grossi & Associates offers collision repair for all makes and models, both foreign and domestic. There's a reason why they are voted Best of the Valley year in and year out. They are the collision experts. Grossi & Associates. Call today for a free estimate.
It's Joe Corsi here from Thinking Logically to tell you about Beaver County's #1 realtor, Mark Galla with RE/MAX Select Realty. With over 10 years experience, Mark knows all the ins and outs of the real estate business, so whether you're looking to rent, buy, sell, or swap your house, you can rely on Mark to take the hassle out. Mark Galla of RE/MAX Select Realty, going above and beyond. Cash for your house. PGHbuyers.com. If you have an unwanted house but don't want the hassle of selling, visit PGHbuyers.com to see if PGHbuyers.com can help. No inspections and a fair cash offer. Visit PGHbuyers.com to sell that unwanted property for a fair price today.
The views and opinions expressed on WBVP and WMBA are those of the participants and host. They are not necessarily the viewpoint of WBVP and WMBA, its staff, management, and advertisers. Thank you for listening to WBVP and WMBA.
Welcome back to Thinking Logically on 99.3 WBVP, brought to you by Mitchell's Jewelers. Remember, it takes an enormous amount of pressure to make a diamond, so why should you put yourself under any more pressure when buying one? Don't. Go to Mitchell's Jewelers, where the choice is as clear as their diamonds. Mitchell's Jewelers, located at 2454 Mill Street in Aliquippa, PA. That's 2454 Mill Street in Aliquippa, PA. Mark, Joe Biden got on a plane. Before the break, it's all Biden. It's the Biden family and the laptop before the break. After the break, we're talking about Biden's, field trip, I guess you could say, to France. So Biden gets on a plane last night, flies to France, touches down Paris at 9:28 a.m. local time, and then immediately called a lid for the rest of the day. For those that don't know, lid is there's no more activities for the president. When it comes to Joe Biden, I guess he's either in a Bacta tank or sleeping or something. But you don't call a lid at 9 a.m. in the morning. What is this, a vacation? Mark, this is like 2020 all over again with the lids.
Yeah, someone asked KJP about this, Karine Jean-Pierre. And she basically said that I don't know if it was this day or the following day, but someone, they asked her about why didn't he have anything on his schedule? What's he doing? He's the president of the United States. His schedule is supposed to be public. Well, she said that he had a phone call with I think in her words, the Mexico president. That would be I already forgot her name. I just know she's a left-wing person of Jewish faith. What is her name, Joe? Claudia Sheinbaum. And I guess that was all he did for the day, was contact the new president of Mexico. So, I don't want to play devil's advocate here, but I'm sure if you're 81 and you are in complete mental decline, that the jet lag is going to hit you even 10 times harder than it would hit somebody else. Give him Adderall, something. I don't know. Jack him up in some way, shape, or form and get him out there.
That sounds like your average day for an 81-year-old, though. Just he made a phone call. He talked to his caretaker or something. Yeah. That's it.
Yeah, but it's like we're going to talk about with this thing that happened today. He is making America a laughingstock on a world stage all the time. Let's talk about what happened today, Joe.
All right. Well, first of all, if you just listen to the speech, honestly, if you were looking for him to be bumbling and stumbling, the speech itself wasn't that bad for Biden, at least. But he used the D-Day speech to brag about how many Russians were killed in Ukraine. Ryan, when you get a chance, play the Biden talking about Normandy.
They've inflicted on the Russian aggressors, they've suffered tremendous losses, Russia. The numbers are staggering. 350,000 Russian troops dead or wounded.
Okay, number one, we were supposed to honor the fallen the United States fallen for D-Day for Normandy, we should be talking about Russia and Ukraine. Number 2, Russia was actually on our side in World War II and helped fight the Nazis. And number 3, Mark, aren't there Nazis in Ukraine? Like, this has been completely found out. The media tried to lie about this for 2 years. There are literal Nazis with the Nazi insignia patches, the Azov Battalion, in Ukraine fighting against the Russians again 80 years later.
Yeah, you know what? He is calling for solidarity with Zelensky in Kyiv as well during the speech. So it's come out, I think, the last, I don't know what day or two, that Zelensky's been using the money that America has been sending Ukraine to, as we know now, buy what? Businesses, casinos, lavish homes, and so on and so on. So, yeah, let's keep sending him money, and he'll keep laundering it and whatever. We'll keep laundering it or whatever. But yeah, we do believe there are Nazis in Ukraine. We're pretty sure of that. That's a fact. As you said, Biden used the D-Day anniversary to attack Putin, and as Jack Posobiec put on X here, Russia famously was allied with America in World War II. Believe it or not, this whole thing was a disaster. Joe, why did Joe Biden, Dr. Joe, I should call her, pull the president out of this event right in the middle of it, escorted him off stage, held his hand, and left Macron to greet and honor American heroes that were in France for this event?
Well,
Joe Biden exited stage left. It looked like he was actually taking a crap at one point on stage. I don't know what he was doing. Did he think there was a chair underneath him?
Okay, so this has been thoroughly fact-checked, and the community notes have had this. So Joe Biden, according to the fact-check, didn't pull President Biden out of the ceremony. It wasn't mid-ceremony. It was after the end of the ceremony. And President Macron was the bad guy because he turned back after it ended to shake World War II veterans' hands. Look, here's the thing. Biden left while Macron stayed behind with veterans. Why is the president the first one out the gate here? It shouldn't be like that. Shouldn't the World War II veterans be the first one out of the gate? Also, about the chair, there was a chair behind him. You just couldn't see it. And I think Jill was telling him not to sit down, not to crap your pants, but not to sit down because it wasn't time to sit down. But again, another strike against him because he didn't have his giant card that tells him when to sit down, apparently. This is from Raw
Speaking of gait, Joe, his walking gait, when Jill was escorting him off the stage,
feeble.
He looks so bad. There's something obviously wrong with him, as he's walking off stage. And here, this is from Baby Gravy 9 on X. Imagine telling the soldiers storming Omaha Beach that 80 years later that the U.S. president would crap his pants at a memorial service to honor them. He left Macron out to dry.
Viva Frei.
That's pretty amazing.
The crapping his pants thing. Viva Frei or Viva Frei. He's a Canadian lawyer. He debunked it on X. He said there is an actual chair behind him. He was going to sit, and it seems Jill was telling him it's not quite time to sit yet. Sorry, peeps, he's not pooping himself. But Colin Roog on X said he got confused while trying to take a seat, then froze. Later, he left the ceremony while Macron stayed and greeted veterans. There's no way Democrats let this man run again against Trump in 2024. And I got to agree with Colin. It's just, when are they going to move on from Biden? And like we said before the break, 25th Amendment is their only option because they can't have it. They can't have an impeachment. And this tweet or this article from Mediaite, Republicans posted misleading clips attacking Biden at D-Day Memorial. Here's what really happened. We didn't post any misleading clips. It's called a video compilation. All this stuff really happened. I didn't do any deep fakes.
Macron was greeting American war heroes on the stage while the president of the United States left. Let that sink in. and yet he's the one that has the balls to say Trump called them suckers and losers.
We're reminded every June 6th how terrible war can be with all the dead bodies. And what does Biden do? Attacks verbally Russia. And then also, I guess, with U.S. weapons, attacks Russia via Ukraine, because American weapons are now being sent to strike inside of actual Russia. This is from an interview he gave right before the D-Day speech. He's sitting down with a journalist from, I believe, ABC News, And the journalist asked, are American weapons being used right now inside Russia? And Biden said, yes. Whatever happened to only sending defensive weapons, Mark? And you could get into Putin and McGregor.
Well, I mean, Douglas McGregor, a guy we respect and we follow on X, and you know he gives some great takes out there. This was from yesterday. Breaking: Ukraine uses U.S. weapons to strike inside Russia with guidance approved by the Biden administration. This is going to escalate the conflict to a new level. Then he responds back and says, update: Putin raises the stakes, tells Biden directly to stop giving Ukraine weapons. This is not going to end well. Joe, we are going to end up in World War III. It's only a matter of time. How much is Russia going to take, Joe? How much is Putin going to take before they respond in a way that is going to lead to the deaths of tens of thousands of people? I mean, how many times are you going to poke the bear? FAFO, as they say today. I mean, I pray that Putin has some restraint here and just kind of holds off until he sees if Trump comes back into the White House or not.
Let me just explain it for the audience, because we sound like Russian simps and we're not Russian simps. Let's deal with the facts. Imagine this. Imagine Russia sponsored a coup in Mexico in 2014 and then placed military bases and troops on the border of Texas. That's Russia and Ukraine right now. That's what's happening. Remember, NATO has moved eastward since the fall of the Soviet Union. That was 91, 89. NATO was created to counter the Soviet Union, so shouldn't NATO have been pointless after the early 90s? Instead, over the last 30 years, they've brought in more countries to NATO and moved closer and closer to the Russian Federation. It's not the USSR anymore. Remember, NATO is a military alliance. So no wonder this caused tensions over that span. And then it boiled over in 2014 under Obama, resulting in the Russians going into and then annexing the Crimea. Fast forward nearly a decade to today. The Biden administration, Victoria Nuland, others, we could go on and on, they accelerated these tensions. And this resulted in Putin invading all of Ukraine, the Donbass, everything. And now the Biden administration is telling Ukraine it's okay to fire U.S.-made weapons into Russia proper. Mark, do you see the problem?
It's a big problem, Joe. It's a very big problem. And you know what, Joe? No matter what happens, say Putin were to respond with nuclear weapons, just say he was provoked. I mean, no matter what, if we're attacking Russia inside of Russia with U.S. weapons and it's killing Russian civilians, and this takes this conflict to a whole new level, and Putin wants to respond, he will always be remembered as the bad guy, no matter how he responds, no matter what he feels like he needs to do. And again, we're not being Russian simps. That's the last thing we're doing. But, if he responds with nuclear weapons somewhere at some point, he's going to be remembered as the bad guy. He will go down in history as the guy that used nuclear weapons against the West. It's just how history is written. So I just pray that he shows some restraint, has some patience here, and just kind of feels it out for the next few months and sees what happens with this election, because I think things will definitely change if Trump gets back into the White House.
Okay, we're going to move to a break, but I just want to say Putin using a nuke is just as likely as this criminal administration faking Putin using a nuke or faking an attack. Don't call it crazy, but hey, whatever happened with COVID today? We could go on and on and on. All right, when we return, Dr. Deborah Birx, or as you may know her, the Scarf Lady. She's back in the news. Apparently, she's worried about asymptomatic spread of the new bird flu and wants every cow and dairy worker in America tested. Here we go again with the asymptomatic spreading of a virus. Imagine a disease so dangerous, you need tested to know you have it.
The warm weather is back, and that can only mean one thing. Pirates baseball for a 76th season is on Beaver County Radio. Make sure you set your radio dial to WBVP and 99.3 FM. Pirate baseball is being presented locally by the St. Barnabas Health System, Freedom United Federal Credit Union, Falcones Moon Township Ford, Keystone Wellness Program, Friendly Federal Credit Union, Dr. C. Timothy Lip, the Beaver Falls Municipal Authority, Patriot Home Care, Town Square Restaurant, and Beaver County Radio.
It's Joe again from Thinking Logically, here to tell you about one of my favorite clothing items, the MyPillow hoodie. Two things I love the most about this hoodie are how it fits and how it feels. This hoodie is extremely roomy, and its terry cloth material makes it lighter than any other hoodie I own. Use promo code LOGIC to maximize your savings. The MyPillow hoodie. Get yours today.
Hey guys, it's Joe from Thinking Logically here to tell you about a company I've been using since I got my learner's permit. Grossi and Associates. Using their state-of-the-art equipment, Grossi and Associates offers collision repair for all makes and models, both foreign and domestic. There's a reason why they are voted Best of the Valley year in and year out. They are the collision experts. Grossi and Associates. Call today for a free estimate.
It's Joe Corsi here from Thinking Logically to tell you about Beaver County's #1 realtor, Mark Galla with RE/MAX Select Realty. With over 10 years experience, Mark knows all the ins and outs of the real estate business, so whether you're looking to rent, buy, sell, or swap your house, you can rely on Mark to take the hassle out. Mark Galla of RE/MAX Select Realty, going above and beyond.
The views and opinions expressed on WBVP and WMBA are those of the participants and host. They are not necessarily the viewpoint of WBVP and WMBA, its staff, management, and advertisers. Thank you for listening to WBVP and WMBA.
Welcome back to Thinking Logically on 99.3 FM WBVP. Your temperature might not be rising, but just to be safe, Dr. Deborah Birx wants to swab your brain, just like in 2020. Okay, so the famous scarf lady Deborah Birx is back in the news, like we said before the break, again. This time wanting to swab more than just people. So Deborah Birx, a physician and former President Trump's coronavirus response coordinator, said the U.S. is making the same mistakes with bird flu as COVID by not, quote, testing to really see how many people have been exposed and got You know what, Ryan? Just play the Deborah Birx audio, please.
We're not testing to really see how many people have been exposed and got asymptomatically infected. We should be testing every cow weekly. You can do pooled PCR. We have the technology.
The testing drives the pandemic. We went over this like 100 times. Even the inventor of the PCR test said it won't work for COVID and other viruses. And what happened? We used that for COVID. Ryan, when you get a chance, I'm sorry to hop in. Play the first Kerry clip, the guy that invented the PCR test.
The measurement for it is not exact at all. It's not as good as our measurement for things like apples. An apple is an apple. You know, you can get something that's kind of like, if you got enough things that look kind of like an apple and you stick them all together, you might think it's an apple. But and HIV is like that. Those tests are all based on things that are invisible, and the results are inferred in a sense. PCR is separate from that. It's just a process that's used to make a whole lot of something out of something. That's what it is. It's not. It doesn't tell you that you're sick, and it doesn't tell you that the thing you ended up with really was going to hurt you or anything.
The PCR test from the creator of it doesn't tell you if you're sick, and it doesn't tell you the thing you ended up with. Look, and she wants to PCR test every cow. We need to bring back places like Dixmont, specifically for people like her. PCR test every cow in the country to make sure they aren't asymptomatic. Every cow, every week in the country. Have we all gone mad here? Is it just me, you, and Ryan? That's all that's left, Mark. Is it just us?
Mad cow disease, Joe. I mean, we could apply that to Debbie Birx. Joe, how did Debbie Birx come back into the conversation? She was out of the lexicon. She was out of the public view for like 3 years. Then all of a sudden, once bird flu starts coming back up again, she just pops up out of thin air on cable news. Who put Debbie Birx back on TV? That's what I want to know, first of all. Second, Joe, you know what this means. If they're going to PCR test every cow in America, that means they're going to slaughter cows. They're going to create an intentional food shortage. I don't want to get into conspiracy land, but doesn't that sound like that's what they're headed for? That's what they want?
That's a great point. I don't think about that because I looked at the humor and the laughter. Picture like someone PCR testing. Have you ever seen a cow with a giant slobbery nose coming up and shoving a PCR test up a cow's nose every week? But you're right.
Oh.
They could use it to kill the cows. Next thing you know, we're eating the bugs.
Well, I'm glad I got my quarter cow ordered from my farm out in Ohioville that I got my beef from last year. So I should be good, but I would advise all of you out there listening to do the same thing. Buy a quarter cow. Buy beef from a local farmer, because otherwise you're going to be paying out the rear for beef if they do what I think they want to do.
Wait a minute.
And that's what I said. Intentionally create a food shortage.
But it's a bird flu.
Right?
Why is a
It's
cow
jumping to humans now? Jumping to cows, Joe.
from bird to cows to human? Oh, that's right. Just like the coronavirus went from a bat to a pangolin to someone ate a muskrat and then traveled down to the Wuhan wet market after eating a muskrat and infected everyone.
And Mickey Mouse got it somehow.
I thought we were past. We are regressing. We're not ever.
We need to FOIA Debbie Burks' emails with Tony Fauci.
Have we learned nothing the last 4 years with all the useless stuff that we did? Are we really? Like I said, is it Ryan? Is it just us? Is it just us? Are we the only ones with brains here?
I don't know what's going on, Joe.
Ryan's playing it safe. He's putting his mask on just to be safe. All right. I don't even know what to make of this bird flu thing. It could be nothing at all. They could try to pull something. Don't forget, weren't they doing gain of function? Didn't an article come out not too long ago? They were doing gain of function. And then remember, like in California, they found that COVID lab with all the mice with ears sewn on their backs that had all these kind of. It was a Chinese lab in California. We covered this in August.
Yeah, I saw something about. I mean, I don't buy into this, but the day after the new Mexican president gets elected, the day after this Mexican citizen dies of bird flu.
All right.
I mean, this would fit the playbook, Joe, if they were trying to recreate 2020.
Yeah, it would. I just don't know if people might fall for it again. You're going to have not to be rude, bodies in the streets. It can't be like last time where, you the first thing you would see is dozens of homeless being piled up on dump trucks. Remember the movie Contagion? It should be like that. It should have been like that with Matthew Damon. But instead it wasn't like that. It was just like people got the sniffles and then I don't know.
We're 5 months away, Joe, so if they're going to do it, it's going to happen soon.
All right, we can't talk about COVID and infectious diseases without talking about Dr. Fauci. And since it's Pride Month, let's just get this out of the way now. This is from Rothmus on Twitter, on X, we call it now. Remember the movie The Dallas Buyers Club about a group of AIDS patients fighting for the right to use cheap, effective drugs against government bureaucrats in the pocket of Big Pharma? The bad guy was Dr. Anthony Fauci. And we also played the audio of the inventor of the PCR tests, Kary Mullis. Let's play what he said about Dr. Fauci. It's about a minute long. Ryan, give me the second Kary Mullis audio.
These guys like Fauci get up there and start talking. He doesn't know anything really about anything. And I'd say that to his face. Nothing. The man thinks you can take a blood sample and stick it in an electron microscope, and if it's got a virus in there, you'll know it. He doesn't understand electron microscopy, and he doesn't understand medicine. He should not be in a position like he's in. Most of those guys up there on the top are just total administrative people, and they don't know anything about what's going on the bottom. Those guys have got an agenda, which is not what we would like them to have, being that we pay for them to take care of our health in some way. They've got a personal kind of agenda. They make up their own rules as they go. They change them when they want to, and they smugly, like Tony Fauci, does not mind going on television in front of the people who pay his salary and lie directly into the camera.
Too bad he died 9 months before COVID happened. What a shame. What are the odds, actually, too? And then, Mark, I'll get to you. This is what I wanted to eventually reach at. This is from Wyatt on X. Fauci testified the board of the NIH approved the gain-of-function research, not him. Well, he didn't mention his wife was on that board. She is in charge of bioethics, and it's right on Wikipedia. Go look it up if you're at home. Christine Grady is her name. National Institute of Health Clinical Center. It's Dr. Fauci's wife. There's even a fact check. Bioethics, or lack thereof. Mark.
Joe. I mean, we heard what we needed to hear, Joe, at this hearing the other day. while he testified on Capitol Hill. So don't forget, as we mentioned, NIH scientists made what, Joe? 700 and some million?
$125.
What's that?
$125 according to Fauci.
Well, he made 125, but the NIH scientists made
$2.6 million.
of over $2 million in royalties
Yes.
from the COVID vaccines.
Yeah. With inflation, though, it's not that much money, I guess, anymore.
No.
We're gonna Fauci again. Another one should be in jail, or something. Again, it's right there. It's right there, lying under oath. We got him in perjury traps. Anything else? This whole
Again, Joe. This is another. He's a prime candidate for a military tribunal. Anthony Fauci.
It sounds crazy saying that. Like I almost get like a chill, but like, don't we deserve this? I mean, we shut down. Like we almost ruined our country over this COVID stuff, and he was making it all up. The 6-foot rule, making it all up. You stole an election using the 6-foot rule.
Destroyed lives.
They'll never be forgiven for this. All right, we gotta move on to a break. When we come back, though, Game stonk, up another 47% today. This isn't Coinbase. This is the U.S. stock market. What's going on? We'll talk about it when we return to Thinking Logically on 99.3 WBVP.
Beaver County Radio, your hometown radio station. You're listening live from the Fry Transportation Studios. Beaver County Radio and Fry Transportation, proud to call Beaver County home.
You know, when Joe Biden shuffles in front of the cameras to answer scripted questions during the day, he lies like Don King. But what you don't know is, when he goes to sleep at night, he lies like an Egyptian king because he uses MyPillow Giza Dream Sheets. Grown only in a region between the Sahara Desert, the Mediterranean Sea, and the Nile River, its long staple cotton makes it ultra soft and breathable. Use the promo code LOGIC to maximize your savings on this amazing product. Cash for your house. PGHbuyers.com. If you have an unwanted house but don't want the hassle of selling, visit PGHbuyers.com to see if PGHbuyers.com can help. No inspections and a fair cash offer. Visit PGHbuyers.com to sell that unwanted property for a fair price today.
Hey guys, it's Joe from Thinking Logically here to tell you about a company I've been using since I got my learner's permit. Grossi & Associates. Using their state-of-the-art equipment, Grossi & Associates offers collision repair for all makes and models, both foreign and domestic. There's a reason why they are voted Best of the Valley year in and year out. They are the collision experts. Grossi & Associates. Call today for a free estimate.
The views and opinions expressed on WBVP and WMBA are those of the participants and host. They are not necessarily the viewpoint of WBVP and WMBA, its staff, management, and advertisers. Thank you for listening to WBVP and WMBA.
Welcome back to Thinking Logically on 99.3 WBVP. Again, we are sponsored by Mitchell's Jewelers. Don't be like Hunter Biden and go to the Chinese or Russians for your diamonds. Go to Mitchell. All right, the number to call in is 724-774-1888 or 724-843-1888. Again, 724-774-1888 or 724-843. And then what GameStop might be at next week, 1888. Ah, Mark, GameStop went parabolic again today, up 47%. Roaring Kitty made another tweet on X saying that he's going to do a live stream for the first time in 3 years tomorrow. I don't know if that's going to move the price anymore or not, but what is going on here with this?
I don't know, Joe. This is your area of expertise here with GameStop and shorting stocks and things like that. I really don't know. I mean, are the shorts back in control, Joe? I'm not sure. Explain to our listeners why this is happening.
I don't know. I just think that E-Trade is where Roaring Kitty has his account is on E-Trade, and he has 120,000 of call options at $20 strike price. So if he's able to exercise those options, that's like 12 million shares, I believe, or something like that. I don't know if E-Trade would be able to cover those shares, meaning he's buying the shares, if they'd be able to even give him the shares. So what happens? Where do you find the shares that would drive the price up? What's going to happen is for it to go parabolic, you're going to have to wait you'll know when the shorts are actually closing their positions because there'll be crazy price movement with almost no volume. because no one is selling. Everyone's buying. So until that, it could go up 20, 30% a day. It could go down 30% tomorrow. I have no idea. This is a straight roller coaster casino right now. I mean, if you have anything in GameStop, I wouldn't sell it now. I'd wait. What do you have to lose? But this is interesting to watch. I hope it doesn't crash the stock market. What's going to happen to some of these, trading apps and stuff like E-Trade? I mean, hedge funds, everything. It's all artificial anyway, but it's all a rigged game.
I'm waiting for a correction to come back in. So,
well, I would hold my breath until at least September or October. That's when they usually call, or when they lower interest rates finally. That's when it all falls apart. That's what happened in 2007 and 2008. All right.
European central banks lowering interest rates, Joe.
Well, they don't.
Are they giving up on 2% inflation?
I think they have no other choice but to lower because I don't know. It sounds like a lot of the central banks are between a rock and a hard place. Back.
Yeah, I mean, do you think we're going to see interest rates get cut in America?
Yes, absolutely. They're going to cut them for sure. They're going to cut them for sure. Write it down before the election, and that's when the disaster will start because they can't be cut. Look at what happened in 2008.
Bookmark that.
Yeah. All right. Also, George Santos, one of our favorite former congressional congressmen, I guess you could say, from New York. He was on, I don't know what show, exposing that the U.S. Congress gets classified information and are actually doing certain trades in the stock market they're told to do. He said, they're told to trade on the exact date the stock will jump 80%, making a fortune. It's a criminal enterprise. I call her now. I mean, she's insider trading, and it's almost evident if you look at her disclosures. I mean, it's not hard to see a member. We prove that. Okay. Oh, it's very easy. She receives classified briefings as a member of the Ways and Means Committee. And I don't know if he's talking about Nancy Pelosi or who. I'll just leave it at that. But again, why do congressmen get to trade stocks whenever they're getting classified briefings and know about this stuff and handle policy? Again, if you know we're about to go to war, wouldn't you invest in Raytheon, Boeing, Palantir even maybe? I'm not a financial advisor.
That's one of the major problems people have with Congress, Joe, is their ability to trade stocks.
But Roaring Kitty can't post a picture of his position. It's amazing.
Yeah. All right, let's talk about Georgia, Joe. Your girl, Fani. Beautiful Fani.
Well, let's do the Trump VP talk first, because I want to.
Oh, we skipped over that. That's right.
I want to speculate on this. So, Trump campaign supposedly has sent VP vetting paperwork to the following people: Doug Burgum, who I believe tore his Achilles, much like me; Marco Rubio, J.D. Vance, Tim Scott, Brian Donalds, Elise Stefanik, and Ben Carson. Mark, who do you like? Who are we betting on?
I feel like this is a smokescreen, Joe. I just don't feel like I think he made his mind up a long time ago.
I agree.
With his VP pick. And I wouldn't be shocked if the VP was no one on this list. I mean, you could speculate all you want on who he's going to take as vice president, but you truly do not know. I've heard everything from Tim Scott to J.D. Vance. Those are the two names I've heard from some people that, some insiders, quote unquote, we'll call them. I don't think he's going to take a senator. I feel like giving up a Senate seat would be too valuable.
Unless it's J.D. Vance.
Have the Senate.
Unless it's J.D. Vance, because we could have our guy in there, Vivek.
Yeah, Vivek. But I feel like Vivek's going to be DHS secretary if Trump, I pray, if he is that, if Trump wins. So I think it could be, I mean, Joe, strategically, who would you, I mean,
Devin Nunes is who I would take. Devin Nunes. If it's someone that has to be on this list, I would do J.D. Vance or Ben Carson. There's really not two. I like Brian Donalds. There's other people that I like, but I'm just not super comfortable. I'm not even super. I like J.D. Vance, but I don't know. I don't want a retainer. I don't want someone that's going to be just someone that's waiting for Trump to leave office. I want someone that
Doug Burgum would be good.
Who's that?
Doug Burgum.
I just don't know enough about him. I'm sorry. Aside from the fact that he tore his Achilles, and I respect him for that because he showed up to the debate after he tore his Achilles, and I know it's hard to stand, especially in the 48 hours after you tear your Achilles. So I respect for him.
I mean, if he feels like he is for sure going to win, then he would probably pick J.D. Vance. But if he feels like he needs to shore up support with maybe the blacks or the Latinas, and then maybe you look at Ben Carson, Byron Donalds, Tim Scott, or Marco Rubio. So I don't know. It's hard to even predict something like this, especially with Trump.
It is. All right, but speaking of something that was easy to predict, Fannie Willis getting thrown off. Well, I guess it's just suspended. Georgia Appeals Court pauses Fannie Willis prosecution of Trump. So for all intents and purposes, before the 2024 election, this is dead. Fannie Willis is the one that's going to be on the defensive now because I think, I can't remember what's going on with her, but it had to do with her inappropriate relationship with Nathan Wade. I don't know what the exact legal term is for what she has to go through now, but they're looking at the case and any improper issues going on. So it's paused. This is done. This election, fake electors, whatever, it's done until 2025 at the earliest.
Yeah. If it happens, it's going to be in 2025. But this is great news for Team Trump.
Victories begot victories.
And justice.
And again, staying on the same topic, breaking news: Judge Cannon, the only constitutional judge out of all the judges on Trump's cases, is going to hold a hearing on the constitutionality of Jack Smith's appointment as a special prosecutor. The requirements were never met. Joe Biden didn't nominate him, and the Senate never confirmed him. And that's from Wendy Patterson on X. Again, done. Not going to happen before the 2024 election. Stick a fork in it. Another one. And it's a shame because it was just starting to get good with that. With the classified documents and everything that was turning out to be a lie of Jack Smith. Maybe we'll see more of it, but it doesn't look like Trump is the one in danger anymore. Mark, what do you think?
Yeah, this is going to be another win for Trump. We have Judge Eileen Cannon on this case, and it looks like she's upholding the rule of law. But the left will want to scream and shout that she should be removed from the case. So, too bad.
All right. This came out today. So Steve Bannon was ordered to report to prison on July 1st. Did you read anything about this? For ignoring a congressional subpoena. And this is from Libs of TikTok. Remember, Hunter Biden ignored a subpoena for months and wasn't sentenced to prison. Also, if you remember, Mark, Merrick Garland just said earlier, I think it was this week or last week, that he gets to pick which subpoenas he honors and which ones he doesn't. So he doesn't have, when he's subpoenaed, he doesn't have to show up. Why is Steve Bannon going to jail? This is War Room. This is one of the top conservative-leaning podcast shows out there. It's on for 3-4 hours a day. Losing Steve Bannon would be a giant hit for Trump and all of his followers that depend on that for news and information.
Yeah, not good. Not good. Joe, I'm kind of a little disappointed that Bannon didn't just go along with the subpoena. I mean, maybe he didn't think he was going to be sentenced to prison, but now you're going to be in jail for the next 4 months, Joe. 4 months from today is October 6th. Now you're in jail for the next 4 months.
You see what they're doing?
I mean,
you see what
do you want to be a martyr?
They're taking pieces off the chessboard, as you could say. They're trying to get, I guess Trump would be the queen on the chessboard. Queen's just boxed in right now. It's not off the chessboard. Peter Navarro off the chessboard. And, well, he's only got like another month. Steve Bannon, again, very influential person in right-wing movements. Off the chessboard, maybe. July 1st until October. This is big. If this doesn't make you mad, again, I remind you, who are the real Nazis? Who are the real Gestapo arresting their political opponents for what? For what? Meanwhile, all the crimes, Hunter Biden, Joe Biden, Jim Biden, Merrick Garland, we can list them, Anthony Blinken. Where's their accountability? It's not there, Mark. All right, we got about 3 minutes. What do you think about the Bannon thing? Am I base
again,
there?
it's a blow to War Room pandemic, and hopefully someone will step in. Maybe Mike Davis. I don't know. Somebody will step in and fill the gap for Steve Bannon. I wonder if Steve Bannon will be down in prison with Peter Navarro. Maybe down in Miami, but who knows? But we were just talking here, Joe. I'm Googling Scooter Libby. Remember Scooter Libby, Joe? I don't know why I thought of this, but Scooter Libby was Dick Cheney's chief of staff. Scooter Libby was sentenced to prison back in 2007, 30 months in federal prison and a $250,000 fine. Where am I going with all this, Joe? Well, that congressional committee, Joe, recommended criminal charges for, I believe it was Jim Biden and Hunter Biden, Joe. Why did they recommend criminal charges, Joe? For lying under oath, correct?
Yeah. Hey.
Well, Scooter Libby went to jail for 30 months in federal prison, paid a large fine for 1 count of obstruction of justice, 2 counts of lying under oath, and 1 count of making false statements. So no one is above the law.
No one is above the law. All right, we're going to wrap up today with a funny story. Hunter Biden, I don't know, gave me read a lot of stuff about Hunter Biden and led me this story somehow came up. So a remote Amazon tribe connected to Elon Musk Starlink, and then they got hooked on porn and social media. This is in Brazil. The 2,000-member Marubo tribe has been left bitterly divided at the arrival of Tesla founder Starlink service 9 months ago, which connected the remote Rainforest Village community to the web for the first time. When it arrived, everyone was happy, said Marlboro 73. But now things have gotten worse. Young people have gotten lazy because of the internet. They're learning the ways of the white people. Mark, we got a minute left, but oh man, if only Uncle Brosy had a Playboy magazine and his B-52 bomber. What seriously? What happens when they get Rivers Casino app on their phone next? The tribe's done.
Needless to say, their lives have been changed forever. But good episode, Joe. Thank you to our producer Ryan. Thank you to all of our sponsors. I'll be headed to the Bronx on Saturday, Joe. And don't forget, New York Governor Kathy Hochul said the black children in the Bronx don't know what the word computer means.
That's right.
We'll see
just
everyone
like the
on
Amazon
Monday.
tribe. All right. Well, thank you, Mark. Ryan, anything before we head out of here?
No, great show as always, guys.
All right. We'll be back. This is Thinking Logically. We'll be back from 5 to 6 again on Monday, and we're here every Monday through Thursday on 99.3 WBVP. Thanks for listening, guys.
The views and opinions expressed on WBVP and WMBA are those of the participants and host. They are not necessarily the viewpoint of WBVP and WMBA, its staff, management, and advertisers.